Hi everyone, this is John from HValley Tools, and today I wanted to introduce our new line of helical and helix spiral bits and explain a little bit about them because it gets a little confusing in there and there's so many flush trim options and which one do I get and why do I get it and how do I get it and why do I need it. So we're going to go over the new bits which are here, which are really awesome and badass. And also go over the history of some of the traditional flush trim bits, why they still work well, all the way up to the newest generation of replaceable carbides. So we're going to go over the history first, real short, so you understand the options and why they're still necessary, and then get into our really super cool, badass helix bits. Okay, so now let's talk about the different cutter designs and why they're still relevant, and a little bit of the history. So our first one is one of our K premiums, and that's a standard 2-flute straight, what I call a chopper carbide. The carbide comes around and chops the wood away. Later we realized, you know what, we should introduce a little bit of an angle onto it, like a 5-degree down shear, and you'll notice the carbide on this is actually sloped and it shears the wood away versus chopping. And then we said, hey, drill bits, they work really great. Why wouldn't it work for a router bit? So then we introduced the spiral bit, and as you can see, there's a spiral cutting action where the shearing cut walks up the wood, and they are absolutely phenomenal. And then they said, hey, you know what, we want to be able to cut in multiple directions at the same time. Now this is the Eagle America Monda bit, and this thing's awesome, but you'll notice it's not a full spiral. It's kind of truncated and chopped off, and there's also back cut grinds that come in the other way. And these new computer design cutters are remarkable. They have almost zero tear out. You can do compression cutting, which means you're cutting from both directions into the wood. They're incredible, but they come at a premium price, and you're not going to buy something like this and use it on MDF because it's just going to get destroyed. That's why these are still relevant for a lot of applications. These work great. These are excellent when you have some kind of grain issue that you're worried about. The spiral bits are your all-purpose Jeeps, general purpose. They work great on everything. They really don't care about grain that much. These are excellent for every application, and end grains and reversing grains, burls, they're superb. Let's talk about our helix and helical bits. So this is our new line of helix bits, and it gets a little confusing in here, so stay with me. A spiral bit, when you look at a spiral bit, it's a rotating helix. It's a helical bit. Absolutely perfect, right? But the whole thing moves. What we found in the computer design, these are little helix portions of a spiral. And the computer design allows us to have multiple facets and cutting angles and shear angles on the same bit. It's crazy, but it works remarkably well. So we have our offerings in this as a flush trim, as a pattern maker. Now a pattern maker has the bearing on the shank. We also have a full helical bit here. See, it's got the full helical going down, and we have a little baby here. These are remarkable. When I tested this bit myself on end grain on red oak, I was stunned at the cut quality. There was no burning, there was no fraying, no chipping, and the particulates that came off the cutter were like paper, little pieces of paper. It cut remarkably well. We have several of our local customers using these in heavy applications, and they're raving about them. They are just super sharp. I cut my hands on them all the time. So again, we have our flush trim application, and the other thing that's important that I forgot to mention is that these are what I call grain agnostic. When you have those weird grains where you've got a reversing grain or a burl, or you're coming onto a curve where there's an end grain, these are totally loving of grain. They just ignore it and the cuts come out like glass. So again, you got your baby pattern maker, okay, and a helix bit which has a little truncated guy here. We've got our helical bit, little pattern maker. We've got our helix pattern maker and a helix flush trim. So they're all spirals. Doesn't care what you call them, but they work great, and that's the key. They work excellent. And if you have any questions, call and ask which bit do I need. I get that question a couple hundred times a day. And again, if you're in the area up in Southampton, Pennsylvania, stop by our woodworker showroom. We'd love to see you.